Tonight. How many times tonight have you said McKnight was right?
I am so pumped for McKnight Tonight.
See if you can work out why it infuriated me. You know I will get hate for speaking to you. Oh, speaking of Rant.
Funny, insightful interviews from a washed-up producer with nothing to lose. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Now, here's Rob McKnight.
Hello, welcome to McKnight Tonight. I'm Rob McKnight. It is Thursday, the 20th of November, and it's Tipsy Thursday. You know, Amanda keeps telling me, you put way too much wine in those glasses, Rob. I don't think I do. I tell you what a day it's been in New South Wales politics. Opposition Leader Mark Speakman has resigned, sending the Liberal Party into another round of soul-searching as they scramble for a new leader. I think he'll need a drink bigger than this tonight. And look, that new leader is likely to be ex-Channel 9 presenter Kelly Sloan. And thank you for joining us tonight. We obviously had the night off last night as I went to an awards ceremony for my middle child, Eloise. She did great. She came first in one of her subjects and got a couple of other awards, got a little medal, so it was fabulous. It's the kind of stuff you have to do as a parent, isn't it? But you can help support this show and keep us doing what we do by subscribing to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. Now, when you do that, hit the bell, drop a comment, join the conversation. We have a great group of people here who love new subscribers and people taking part in the conversation. They'll welcome you with open arms, even if they disagree with your comments, all right? So seriously, give it a go tonight. If you've never commented before, tonight is your night with Rob McKnight. I always rhyme when I can. All right, coming up on this edition of the show, the very latest on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Can Donald Trump redact his own name? That is the big question tonight. Plus, why the US Congress wants Australia's eSafety Commissioner to front up and explain herself. Ida Buttrose will be here to talk about her new book, and who knows what trouble we'll get into. Unapologetically Ida. Could be unapologetically McKnight. And Rob's rant is Christmas related. So let's get into it. Can Donald Trump actually redact his own name from the Epstein Files? That's the big question tonight, and the law he just signed gives us some answers. The president has signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which means the files must be released within 30 days. And I did find it interesting we didn't have all the cameras surrounding him for this signing of his presidential signature, because he usually loves to have the cameras there. But to be honest, that's the least of concerns for voters in the US who have been demanding the release of these files. And this has come from people on both sides of the political spectrum. After fighting for so long to try and make the issue go away, many have wondered why Trump has backed down and backed the release of the files. Now, was it because he knew he'd lost control of Republicans on the issue because they were going to pass it without his approval? Or has his team come up with a plan to keep his name out of the spotlight when the files are released in 30 days? What we do know is that Speaker Mike Johnson did not expect the bill to pass through the Senate so quickly, let alone as a unanimous vote. Johnson wanted changes to the bill and expected Senate Republicans to make the changes he wanted, despite the bill passing Congress 427-1.
I made clear for months that I thought there were serious flaws in the underlying bill, and I had hoped that the Senate would work to fix and correct those. They decided to go a different direction. That's their prerogative. I was surprised and disappointed by that. But overall, I mean, the bill has passed, Congress has spoken, and we did what was necessary. I hope it brings comfort to the victims and the survivors.
Now, despite voting for the bill, Johnson hoped the Senate would make the changes he had been demanding. He believes the bill has insufficient protections for victims and innocent individuals. Well, at least that's what he's saying. And he warned that the bill would compel rapid release of documents that might include classified or sensitive national security material. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, though, he shot that down. Despite also being a Republican, Thune said he and Senate GOP legal counsel decided the legislation was sufficient. So what does the bill actually do, and can Trump use it to suppress his name? Let me take you through it. The Act forces the DOJ to release all unclassified records about Epstein, Maxwell, flight logs, associates, government officials, the lot. That's stated directly in the legislation. No record shall be withheld or redacted due to embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to government officials or public figures. On the surface, that sounds airtight. You can't hide names simply because it's embarrassing, even if that name is Donald Trump. But here's where redactions can still happen. The law still allows for redactions in the cases of active federal investigations, ongoing prosecutions, classified national security information, victim identities, child sexual abuse material. Now, these are the legal pathways that could still conceal names. Before the vote even took place, respected journalist Ken Klippenstein, he reported the national security classifications have already been raised around portions of Epstein-related documents. Now, the Democrats have tried everything they can to minimise the ability to redact information by the addition of this clause. All redactions must be accompanied by a written justification published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress. So while the process is tougher, according to the legislation, that doesn't mean there won't be attempts to suppress information implicating the president and Republicans. In fact, recently a Department of Justice official was caught on hidden camera claiming GOP names will be redacted from the files. Acting Deputy Chief Joseph Schnitt, he was caught on camera after meeting up with a reporter he met on a dating app, Hinge. He thought this was a date. It was an undercover sting.
Those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
She got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender. They're offering her something to keep it on show.
Now, the Department of Justice distanced itself from those comments, and he himself said that, he wasn't talking about any information he saw. He was just going off media reports. But let's come back to it. Can Trump redact his name or not? Based strictly on the embarrassment rule, no, he can't. The act was written to stop political figures hiding behind redactions. So that part is solid. But based on the investigation loophole, the classification loophole, and the DOJ's final say over what is active or sensitive, yes, there are legal pathways his name could still be withheld. Trump didn't veto the bill, which was interesting. Politically, he had no choice but to sign it. But the fight is now over what gets blacked out. If you're expecting full, crystal clear transparency, well, there's a real chance you're going to be disappointed. The files will be released, but it might be the redactions that tell the bigger story.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
You know, it's hard to believe Trump made the Epstein Files an election issue when he was running for president. He was the one who was saying it's a Democrat cover-up, and ever since he got into power, he's been trying to sweep them under the rug. So could this backfire on him? It's the one issue I think that really could get him out of favor with his base. Anyway, we'll see what happens. The files, I think, come out on December 19 in the US. We'll all be keeping an eye on them. All right, the US Congress is demanding Julie Inman Grant, Australia's eSafety Commissioner, front up to testify about Australia's under-16 social media ban. The United States House Committee on the Judiciary, chaired by Jim Jordan, has formally requested Julie Inman Grant's testimony. The letter accuses her of being a noted zealot for global takedowns and alleges her enforcement of the Online Safety Act 2021 in Australia threatens US free speech. The core of the concern, Australia law allowing the regulator to order content removal outside Australia's borders, or at least to demand platforms like X geo-block or delete content globally. Firms argue this could set a precedent where foreign regulators dictate what Americans see online. ABC News notes that the US request highlights a case where eSafety sought removal of footage of a New South Wales church stabbing from X, including a claim that Australians could still view it via VPN, hence a push for global removal. Julie Inman Grant and Australia maintain the rule applies domestically and that geo-blocking is sufficient, but the US side sees this as overreach. The letter labels the Online Safety Act a foreign censorship regime. Look, there are a couple of issues here. I think our eSafety Commissioner did overstretch, demanding the removal of that footage, which X fought in court, because you cannot tell a foreign entity to remove something from the internet because you don't like it. And yes, Australians can use VPNs and get around it. But so you can't do anything about that. We do have a big, there's a bigger thing going on here. The US tech firms do not like what we're doing with the under 16 social media ban. But you all know my feeling. I don't like what we're doing with the under 16 social media ban. And I don't understand why YouTube's part of it. And in actual fact, I'm thinking of doing a special where we look into that issue, because I think our kids are going to be hurt by the lack of access to YouTube. But on this issue, we had an eSafety commissioner literally trying to tell X to take down footage. It's not on. You can't do that. And of course, the tech firms are worried, because if this is allowed to happen, every country will do that. And they will be telling foreign entities what to do. Now, this is the first salvo. I mean, I don't like the way our eSafety commissioner has been treated like a little school kid getting in trouble with, being called to Congress to testify. The simple fact is, you can request it. I don't think she has to do it, but obviously for our relation, she will. But isn't that US arrogance? You will come here, you will testify because we have issues. It's pretty outrageous. And while I disagree with the under 16 social media ban, I do not believe someone in Australia should be treated like that by any foreign country, even the US, which obviously we have a very good relationship with, and we don't want that in jeopardy. But if they're going to throw stones like that, we deserve the right to stand up for ourselves. The way Jim Jordan has reacted here, it's very partisan politics in the US, and the way they treat each other. That's not how we do business here in Australia, and I don't like it. So we did put a call out. We are trying to find out whether she is going to testify. Going by news reports, presumably it would be via video link, and she won't actually go over there. But you know what it'll be like. If you've ever seen any of those Congress hearings where people are testifying, they are essentially abused for hours on end, depending on your politics. She's strong. I don't think she'll have a problem on that. But I don't think she's got a case for telling X what to do as far as content goes. But this is the first salvo. They will be fighting back against our under 16 social media ban. So mark my words, the battle is just beginning.
McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight.
McKnight Tonight. I'm here to have a drink.
Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
All right, let me know your thoughts on all those comments. I'm getting to your feedback very shortly. So just go to youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. You know what to do. Take part in the conversation. Meanwhile, let's have a rant. I hate tabloid headlines like the war on Christmas. I find it too easy. It's low-hanging fruit. I hate it when shock jocks go down that path. Oh, they're doing everything against Christmas. But what else can you call it when the term Christmas tree is replaced by evergreen tree? Yeah, you heard me right. That's exactly what UK supermarket Tesco has done, renaming a 6.5-foot luxury evergreen tree in its festive range, dropping the word Christmas. And the backlash has been swift. One shopper warned, well, I will never step foot in that shop again, accusing Tesco of stealing Christmas. Tesco insists it's still proudly celebrating Christmas and points out that most of its trees still carry the traditional label. But it's the thin edge of the wedge, isn't it? The problem is that there's so many instances in our multicultural society, and I know we're talking about the UK here, but the same applies here in Australia, where we believe in a multicultural society. We believe in accepting other traditions from other nations, but we then turn our backs on our own because it may offend those people who have transitioned to this country. And that's not right. Multiculturalism doesn't mean being ashamed of who we are as the people who live here in this country. And there needs to be assimilation. People need to come here and understand they're not living by the laws of the country they've just left. They've come to Australia for a reason. And we have our own rules, our own laws, and our own traditions. Christmas is a big part of who we are. It's a big part of our tradition. And I will forever be saying, Merry Christmas. And I don't like the American term, Happy Holidays. I do not like evergreen trees. And so it is important that we are still able to celebrate Christmas in the way that we have done it here in Australia. We're not stopping other people from celebrating their traditions. In fact, we embrace them. We often, the breakfast shows, the news shows, you'll often see talking about special days in the calendars of other countries to reflect the traditions of people that have moved to this country. Well, we're owed the same level of respect and we are allowed to celebrate Christmas. And if you find it offensive hearing Merry Christmas or Christmas tree, then Australia ain't the place for you. You got to make some choices. That's Rob's rant. All right, in a moment, Ida Buttrose will be here to talk about this book, Unapologetically Ida. I'm looking forward to that. She'll be here very soon. And we will have a back-end quickie tonight. And Amanda, you don't know this, but tonight's back-end quickie involves you.
My goodness.
They're going to see us have a back... Sorry, I started going down a jokey path. That was a bit too far, I think. All right. We will have your feedback very shortly, so get on there right now and tell me. I'm not even going to look because you're probably telling me right now, how could you say that in front of Amanda? Yeah, I know. But first, let's have a random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
Tonight's random live shot of the day takes us to Norway. And this is actually part of a massive 24/7 project called Norway Now. They've actually set up more than 600 cameras across the country, showing everything from quiet harbours and mountain passes to small villages and the coastline and city streets. It'll change in a moment. It's 11:18 over there, as you can see by the timestamp. So it's 11:18 in the morning. So look how low the sun is, though. That's what would usually be here at like 6 in the morning or 6:30 in some parts of the country. So I'm really hoping that it's going to change shot any moment now. I'm not sure how often it happens, but the idea behind it is simple. It's a calming escape. So whether it's the fjords, the forests, or those incredibly peaceful town views, each camera is designed to give you a little reset. And I think, oh, here we go. We've got a camera change happening here. Ooh, a nice overcast mountain escape. And the super is covering the mountains. Can't do anything about that. Yeah, well, there you go. I'll show you the mountain on the big screen. Here we go. Lovely mountains there. The fog's coming in. Beautiful. We might keep an eye on that. Amanda, we might come back to that in our next lot of feedback. Speaking of which, let's take a look at some feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. Justine says, hello, everyone. Happy Tipsy Thursday. And a happy Tipsy Thursday to you too, Justine. Happy Tipsy Thursday to you. Beck says, congratulations, Eloise. Yes, Eloise had her awards night last night. She came first in a subject, media. Shock horror. She came first in media. Jeanette says, yay, Ita is on the show. Yes, she's coming up very shortly. I hope she's got a drink. I did tell her it's Tipsy Thursday. And You're Crazy says, how many months have there been to potentially doctor a new set of files? That would get out. There are people that work in the Department of Justice who that would cross a line and they would leak that information. So I don't believe that will happen. I think the big issue will be the redaction of the files and the justifications they try to give. But at least they have to try and justify it line by line. Every redaction has to have an explanation. So will it hold up to scrutiny? This is the harder part. It's going to be interesting. Beck says, I am so glad that these files are being released. I just hope that they're released in the truest form, especially for all the women to get vindicated. Absolutely, Beck. I agree with that. AAAINAAA says, this is my new fave show. Well, AAA, welcome to McKnight Tonight. It's great to have you here. Thank you for that. Matt says, she threatens Australian free speech, but who cares, right? The commies are in charge. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt, that the eSafety Commissioner has gone too far, and there are a lot of troubling warning signs for me, telling other countries what footage needs to be taken down. Jacinta Allen tried that in New Zealand with the Christchurch shooting. She said, we are never to mention his name, that footage is to be taken down. And I got a note over a podcast, my true crime podcast, Monsters Who Murder, and we actually went through the Christchurch shooting, and our podcast host said we had to take it down because New Zealand had said so. And I said to them, hang on, we're an Australian podcast. New Zealand doesn't get to determine what we do here in Australia. And yeah, so eventually we were allowed to keep it, but we geo-blocked it to New Zealand and we made it a paid subscriber thing. But it just blew my mind. Own You're Crazy says, X, Twitter is a MAGA minefield. It could use heavy redaction. Yes, it's very heavily MAGA influenced, but that's a free society, isn't it? I still believe in the right to basically have the right to post, but if it's offensive, if it's attacking people, there should be more mechanisms for reporting people. And I feel that in all our social media platforms, that's the thing that's missing. Dylan says YouTube is still accessible to kids from December 10. They just can't have an account. Yeah, they won't be able to log in and have their video saved and all that kind of stuff, or they'll just go onto your parents' account. Travis says, yes, it's a joke. Maybe parents should teach their kids not to bully instead of branding everyone with the same brush. Yes, I agree with that, Travis. Thank you for your note. AA's back. You want to see a rant? Oh, I've got a rant for you, but I always love seeing another one. And You're Crazy says, Christmas, 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 Christmas. Good. Yes, and You're Crazy. Yes, I agree with you. We shall always mention Christmas. Matthew says, we are a Christian country. We have public holidays for Christmas and Easter. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Jimmy says, an evergreen tree? Sigh. Enough said. Yes, absolutely agree with you, Jimmy. All right, still plenty ahead on this edition of McKnight Tonight. A blooper will make our back end quickie. Yeah, we'll fit one in. And I'll have a lot more feedback coming to you. Sorry, Amanda. Let's go back to the random live shot. I saw Amanda looking at me like, what have I done? Why is that my first thought? But yeah, that's a beautiful scenic shot, isn't it? That's absolutely beautiful. Sun's coming into the lens there, so not so great. Oh, and now we've dissolved through to another mountain view, although there's it's a bit in shadow there. Anyway, we'll come back and see what the Norway live cam is showing us very shortly. So yeah, more of your feedback, but first, a very special interview with an old friend.
We've invited you here. You don't need to apologise for your story or for what you're saying. I heard the yapping. There was a lot I didn't understand about myself until I had that diagnosis. Don't get the shitties with me. Oh, Guy, no, that's Guy.
Fun insightful interviews from a washed-up producer with up at the blues. McKnight Tonight, McKnight Tonight, here comes McKnight Tonight.
She is a true icon of Australian media, a trailblazer, a leader, and someone I had the privilege of working alongside during our years on Studio 10. Ita Buttrose has shaped this country's media landscape for more than 5 decades. She's led newsrooms, fronted national health campaigns, chaired the ABC, and inspired generations with her clarity, courage, and purpose. And now she's opening up like never before in her new book, Unapologetically Ita. It's a frank, fearless look at her life, the battles she's fought, and the issues she believes Australia must confront, and the woman she's become. From journalism and politics to social media, climate policy, dementia research, aging, resilience, and identity, nothing is off limits. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome my friend, Ida Buttrose. Welcome back to McKnight Tonight, and happy Tipsy Thursday.
Oh, cheers, Rob. Your health. Your health.
Cheers to your health too. How are you feeling about the launch of the book?
Oh, pretty good. I've been busy promoting it, of course. But I think I can't talk about myself much longer. I've talked about myself a lot.
Well, one of the things that comes out in the book that you have opened up about is your mobility issues. Now, that is something that you did try, I don't know if hide is the right word, but it is something you certainly tried to downplay for some time. But you basically hit a turning point and having to just accept how you are now, haven't you?
Well, I have to use a wheelchair, so that made a big difference because clearly there's something wrong with me if I can't walk. So the mobility disorder sounds like what it is. But what happened to me was my doctor said he didn't want me to walk alone any further, that I couldn't walk alone. I had to have a chaperone because I was falling. And that is often what happens with a disability disorder of the kind I've got. And you fall backwards. And I had 12 falls last year. And I saw the doctor towards the end of last year. And I said, look, I've had 12 falls this year, but nobody seems to be concerned. And he said, well, I'm concerned. You're not to walk by yourself any longer. But the thing is, Rob, if you don't use your feet, you end up not being able to walk at all. So, I mean, in a sense, the doctor's instructions have hindered my mobility, but I still do rehab. And today I was walking again with somebody, but I had somebody with me.
Well, that's important.
I'm determined to keep walking.
Well, it's an interesting thing because I remember when you first started having the issues, you had some back surgery that really, I think the surgery did you more harm than good. But when we caught together, you were using the walking, not stick, but the walker. Thank you.
Yeah.
And when we had that lunch at Studio 10, we were out in public and you were holding on to me as we walked to the venue. And there did seem a reluctance for you to be seen to have a physical ailment at the time. Would that be fair?
Well, it's a hard transition to make when you've always been independent. And I love wearing high heels, and I've had to give them all away. And I only wear flatties now, which is boring. And it's a difficult adjustment, and it's a difficult adjustment to go out in a wheelchair. But I Googled it, and I've found that most people feel a bit awkward when they go out in a wheelchair. But it is what it is. So I can't do anything about it. So you just think, well, I'll just have to live with it, and I'll find a way to conquer it. So I've got an electric wheelchair now, and I'm learning how to use it. Now, I say learning because it goes quite fast. It doesn't really, but it seems fast. And I'm a bit dangerous. So I have to learn not to go too fast and keep my hand off the controls, or just don't apply them quite so forcefully.
Well, it's so interesting about the physical side because mentally you're still as sharp as a tack. You know, you've got this great book out, Unapologetically Ita. How many more books have you got in you, Ita?
I don't know. I didn't think I had this one. But, the publisher came and made me an offer that I couldn't resist. And I really enjoyed writing it. I actually like writing. So I enjoyed writing it, actually. So I don't know, there might be another 2 or 3 books in me.
You might have to write one that focuses on your time at Studio 10. That'd be a page turner.
I don't think we can. I don't think we should. Well, we need to keep it a secret, Rob.
So true. Yesterday we had the funeral for John Laws. What can you tell me about his legacy?
Oh, he was such a great broadcaster, and he had a charm. The thing about John was he had charm. And there's been a lot of pretenders that have come along to think that they're John Laws, but there's never they don't have John's charm. And he was responsible for me going into radio for in the beginning, because I was editor-in-chief of the Two Telegraphs here in Sydney, and John rang me unexpectedly and asked me to lunch. And over lunch, and a fine bottle of white wine, I must say, he said that he had to go to hospital for some surgery on his throat. And would I fill in for him for 6 weeks at 2UE, which is he was host of the morning show.
And number one by a country mile.
That's right. And I said to him, do you really think I could do this? And he said, yes, I do. Anyway, I did it. And when he returned, 2UE offered me the afternoon show. So that's how I got into radio. John
Amazing.
Responsible.
It's funny, isn't it? And he was such a larger than life character. But I want to get your thoughts. I'm going to throw a few things at you because I do miss the days of Studio 10 where we get your thoughts on the topics of the day. So let me throw a few things at you. We've obviously got the under 16s social media ban happening on December 10. Will it apply to any of your grandkids? And what do you think of the ban? Do you support it?
Oh, look, parents are worried about their children getting social media messages, I suppose. But I think parents need to be stronger with their children. It will only affect 2 of mine.
Right.
The other 3 are old enough. So they're not addicted to social media, you see. Their parents have exerted control over how much time they can spend on these devices. And I think that's what parents have to do. I mean, children will always find a way around it, and they'll find a way around the ban. You know it as well as I do. They'll find a way. I remember when my son was still at school and somebody was floating around with fake licenses, and I said to him, where did you get that? Oh, he said, you know, the guy at the door or something. They all had fake licenses. The children are very enterprising. But if it allays parents' fears and it reduces the amount of time the children are spending on their devices, well, then I don't think it's going to be hurtful.
Yeah, I think the problem is the government telling me what I can and can't allow my kids to do.
Yeah.
You know, social media is a legal product. It's not illegal. And we're now seeing that the eSafety Commissioner is being called to the US. There's been a request for her to go and front the Senate over there. But anyway, we'll see what happens there.
Well,
What are your thoughts?
We don't want to become a nanny state, do we? With the government.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point exactly. Yes. And I do think the eSafety Commissioner in this country is going too far on certain issues. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on that US front.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Liberals dumping net zero?
I'm very confused with the Liberals because I'm not sure how they feel about climate change. They've never been avid supporters of climate change, and I think the confusion, and it took them so long to decide where they were going, and then they decided they'd follow the National Party, which only got 4% of the national vote. So why would you be following the National Party? They're not indicators of how Australians feel about this issue. I think most Australians actually do believe in climate change because we've seen for ourselves the incredible storms. We can see the droughts, the bushfires that we're experiencing in our own country. And I think we need positive action and positive results. And they just need to stop talking about it and take some action.
Do you think Susan Lee will survive as leader?
I'd like to think she could, but I don't.
But she won't. Well, I mean, let's be honest. She won't.
I don't think the party is supporting her. It's often said that the toughest jobs are given to women, Rob, and this is what usually happens in opposition. They give the job to a woman, and then they replace her when they go to the polls.
Well, it is interesting because the person who takes over a party that has got so defeated in the last federal in an election, they're usually not the the person that leads the party to the next election.
No.
But the lack of support for her has been phenomenal. People just feeling free to come out and say or everything they disagree with her about. I don't actually know what the Liberals stand for at the moment.
I don't think anybody does. And I think that was part of the problem in why they lost so many votes in the election. And it's indicative of Liberals all over Australia. I mean, there's change going on in New South Wales. There's change in Victoria, as we know. I think all's not well in WA. You know, the Liberals need to really toe the line and act liberal. For a while, they weren't Liberals. They were everything else but liberal. And they should go back to when Sir Robert Menzies started the party and look to see how he defined being a liberal, because I think they've forgotten.
Yeah, I don't think they know what their core values are. Have you ever been tempted to enter politics?
I've been asked a few times by different parties. No, I decided I didn't want to leave my children because you'd have to go to Canberra because that's the only place you'd want to be a politician. And I didn't really have my children to leave them. And I wasn't prepared. And I always thought that perhaps an independent voice like mine might be better out in the community where I can say what I think and not toe the party line, which wouldn't always be what I thought.
Well, it's interesting you say that because in the book you do talk about having a meeting with Tony Abbott and about dementia because you're a patron of Dementia Australia and he asked you what you needed. And when he said, we'll put, I can't remember the figure, but it was...
He thought he could find 60. It was when I was
60 million, yeah. 60
it was
million.
when I was
And
president of Alzheimer's Australia. And Tony wanted to know the facts and figures because I was talking about it a lot as Australian of the Year. And so I told him the caseload and what was happening. And he said, well, we might be able to find 60 million. And I said, it's not enough, Tony. We need 200 million over five years. And when he went to the polls, that's what he promised. And that's what they delivered. He did deliver 200 million over 5 years for medical research into dementia. At the time, we were underfunded and we still need more money. We need a dementia awareness campaign now because not enough Australians know what to do to avoid dementia, to reduce your risk of dementia. And it is possible.
well, it is interesting you say that because I was just reading a couple of days ago that researchers have discovered that the experience of childhood loneliness is strongly linked to accelerated cognitive decline and a significantly higher risk of dementia in people 50 and up. You and I have talked about the food you eat and exercise and all that kind of stuff, but this idea that childhood loneliness, I don't know if you've read that report.
I've read
very
it,
recent.
but it's not official doctrine for dementia awareness or dementia warnings as far as I know.
Yeah, but it is interesting all this research that's being done and these new warnings we're getting about how what we do when we're younger affects when we're older. Where are we on the drugs front and being able to help people who do have dementia?
Well, there are a couple of new drugs, the Canabab and Donanemab, and they do delay the progress of dementia, but they have serious side effects. So the person has to be monitored and they're expensive. But for the first time, we have drugs that can slow down the progression of the disease. So it tells us that the researchers are on the right track. So this is good. And, you know, if they continue down this track, we'll get some treatments that won't have such serious side effects, I would have thought. And they'll be available for more people at affordable prices. But, you know, there are lots of things you can do to reduce your risk. You have to protect your brain. Don't be overweight or obese. Watch your hearing. Hearing loss is a factor. Check your kidneys. They can be a factor. Diabetes can be a factor. And watch your blood pressure, watch your cholesterol. Don't be socially isolated. Go out and mix with people. We need to mix with people and challenge.
But that's interesting. That plays off what I just read the other day.
Yeah.
You saying the social aspect. I'm surprised by the social aspect playing a factor.
Well, if you socially isolate yourself, you're not mixing and mingling, and the brain needs to mix and mingle. There's no other way for me to put it. And
Yeah.
as we get older, and we often lose our friends, it's very difficult to make new friends for some people. And so many older people, especially those with hearing loss, don't interact with many people at all. That's not good. You have to force yourself to interact with people.
Ita, you've been famous, oh, geez, for a very, very long time. You've been famous longer than you haven't been famous. Let's put it that way in your life. Do you ever crave anonymity?
Not really, because I am who I am. So, I've been this way for such a long time, as you said. If I travel overseas, I'm not known. Sometimes in London, I am known. And sometimes in America, an Australian will shout out, "Hey, good day, Ita." But if I go
Or start singing "Ita Told Me So."
when I go to a non-English speaking country, very few people know me. And it's quite nice. It's quite nice to be anonymous for a minute. But I don't find Australians intrusive. If you're going to be well known, this is a good country to be well known in, because Australians are very respectful. When I was younger and the kids were younger, if we were out somewhere, people didn't intrude on us. They could see that we were having a family occasion.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Ita, you know I'm a big fan of yours. I loved working with you on Studio 10. Your loyalty has always meant the world to me, and you get it right back from me. The book is called Unapologetically Ita. It is a great book, Ita. You know I don't read, and yet I had to read.
Don't tell me you broke a rule. You read it.
I read it, and although I will say, I thought the inscription could have been a bit more. Rob, you are the best person I've ever known, you know.
I don't want to commit to something I couldn't uphold.
Oh, Ita, I love you, even though, you know what? I was about to call you a shithead, right? And then I realized, because I know that in our personal life I could do that and have a laugh with you. And then I realized the people watching this don't know that, and they'd say, "How dare he call her that?"
You're quite right. I'm glad you didn't.
Yes, no, I'm glad I didn't. But what I will say is happy cheers to you, Ita. I love you very much. Everyone should go and get the book. It is a fantastic read. Cheers, Ita. Happy Tipsy Thursday, and here's to a good life.
Thank you very much.
Good old Ita. Much love to Ita. All right. Well, I think we got time for one. Yeah. Have we got time? Have we got time? Have we got time for a back-end quickie?
It's time for a back-end quickie.
Oh, yeah, baby, we've got time. Don't you worry about that. And tonight's back-end quickie is one that I know some of the McKnight Tonight subscribers have already seen, because I gave it as a little bonus on Media McKnight for the paid subscribers who get Media McKnight early at our YouTube page. So when you're subscribed, a paid subscriber to youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight, you get a couple of little bonuses every now and again. And one of them was this bit of an outtake from the recording of Media McKnight. I thought I'd show it for everyone else as well. They all got it early. I thought I'd share it with you. Amanda, roll the tape. Coming up in this edition of Media McKnight, 10 in real financial trouble to the tune of $500 million. Why people in TV... What? Oh. Yeah, you realise you're right in my periphery, and I'm like, I do play off you. Let's go again. Coming up in this edition of Media McKnight, 10 in real financial trouble to the tune of $500 million. Why? I was going to keep going. Oh, we have fun. I don't know why Jasmine laughed when I said, "Oh, we have fun." She found that very, very funny. Why, Jasmine?
I don't know.
Good chat. All right, let's have a look at some feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. We've got this one from Jeanette. Next week, the New York will have their Christmas tree up, according to a friend of mine that was there last week, and she found out. Love to see it. Yes, we will absolutely take a random live shot of the day. We will have to go to New York and see the Christmas festivities. Yes, that sounds like a good plan. Matthew says, Norway tonight, sunrise is 8:29 a.m. and sunset is 8:38 p.m. What are we seeing in Norway at the moment? Oh, we're back to this shot. 11:47. Yeah, that's the real time. I was just making sure we weren't on a still. But we'll see what else it comes with. Over the page we go. And who else is sending a message into McKnight Tonight? Dylan says, yay, Ita, a true Aussie icon. Yeah, she really is. O'Neill Crazy says, I was worried when I first saw Ita in a wheelchair. Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, and I was aware of what was going on long before it became public. And, you know, and even when I went to her house, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, but what she would do was use the counters to get from one spot to the next. So she was on her feet, but it would be a lot like from here to here. And the way she was doing it around her house was, I mean, it was amazing. She did an amazing job. Beck says acceptance is one of the most hardest things. It takes an average of 10 years to agree with disability, and no matter what type of disability you have, some of us never get over the grief. That's a very fair point, Beck. Very fair point. Thank you for sharing that with us. Travis says, oh, to be a fly on the wall at that lunch with the Studio 10 OGs. Well, I was a fly on the wall. I'll tell you something. Sarah Harris paid for that lunch. She disappeared to go to the bathroom, and then she came out and said, when it was time to pay, she said, oh, no, it's all taken care of. And we went, project money. It was very, very kind of her. But you know what that lunch was? It was just fun. It wasn't anyone trying to outdo each other. There was a genuine warmth. And I think we've been all through so much that and I think it was Sarah's idea it was on the 10th anniversary of Studio 10, and I think it was Sarah's idea that we got together and we kept it to just the OGs and just literally the four hosts and me. And that was the lunch. And yeah, it was just really nice. And there's a special bond the five of us will always have because of that show. So it's something very, very special. And, you know, we still talk to all of them. What Jeanette says, I would love that one, Rob. Studio 10 book. Own Your Crazy says, when you have been a fiercely independent person and suddenly finding yourself heavily dependent upon others is hard. Very good point. We've got this one from Matt. He says, this current government is the most pathetic when it comes to dealing with dementia and families. Well, let's hope that changes very soon, Matt. All right. That brings us to the end of this edition of McKnight Tonight, and indeed another big week. We will be back on Monday at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That's 7 p.m. in it's 8 p.m. in Queensland, 6 p.m. in Perth, and I want to say 8:30 in South Australia. I'll work out these time zones one day. All right. I hope you've had a lovely Tipsy Thursday. Thank you for all your support. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Cheerio. Bye-bye. Cheerio.
It's good.